Hello there, my name is Mason Mitchell, and today I will be talking about how to help erase the negative fast food stereotypes, and specifically for McDonald's. Now, what I mean by negative stereotypes is generally fast food restaurants are seen as these big corporations selling cheap, unhealthy food to consumers who they don't necessarily care about. That is not always the case, and I'm sure there are good people within the corporations who don't have those intentions in mind. Granted, there could be those kind of people. But today we'll specifically be looking at McDonald's. The reason for this is McDonald's is one of those corporations that have been around since the 1940s. They're kind of the cream of the crop of the fast food market. But with all these new fast food restaurants, getting built or being made, they really need to step their game up a little bit and start getting ahead of the pack, trying to keep their lead, as I guess you could say. Now, the main goal is to uplift the brand name in order to separate themselves from the competition. They don't necessarily want to get rid of the fast food products. This is important because that's how they make their money. That is what they are known for. You can't really get rid of that. That's not McDonald's. So what I mean by uplifting the brand name is try and make people want to buy products from that corporation. Um, there's several things where the incidents happen in the workplace at McDonald's at a pretty high rate. I believe in 2015, over the 3 years prior to that, 700 cases of violence inside McDonald's had occurred. That is not a good thing. Again, that does not help the brand name at all. So basically, I have three alternatives here that should help erase or at least help the brand name try and get out of the mud and get ahead of the competition. The first one being local community donations. Now, I have proposed a plan to where basically for each cent that is bought from a meal or an item, that cent is donated to a local school or hospital or local charity. And this would basically increase the McDonald's reputation within the community. It would make them feel more appreciated, and not only that, but it helps and benefits the communities around them. Typically, McDonald's are built in poor communities where consumers are able to afford that, but they can't afford bigger meals. So I feel like doing this would definitely benefit the communities themselves and the brand name. Alternative two would be better management requirements. So I interviewed a former McDonald's employee, and he said his biggest knack while working there was the manager. It was someone who had only been working there for a long time, which they had the experience, but they didn't have the managerial experience. So they didn't know how to lead, they didn't know what to do in certain situations, and it kind of just ruined his whole, I guess you could say, experience there for a while. So basically, what I've proposed is you make the franchise owner the manager. I feel like they are best qualified to run this position as they are the head of that specific franchise. So people will look up to them more. And not only that, but they would have more of experience in how to run a business. Now, by doing this would create better management for the employees. The employees would want to work there. They would want to work for the person if the manager was more equipped and more experienced in that position. Now, this will lead to better customer service. One of the knacks on fast food restaurants is how poor the service is, because they're these either teenagers or these people really needing a job, and they don't really care about being there. This would definitely increase the consumer service and a better perspective on the companies in general. Alternative three would be career pathway programs. Now, what I mean by this is you have an entry-level employee, and they're able to get promoted or work their way up until they can own their own franchise or have their own position in a corporate job. Now, this would increase employee motivation and performance because they have an intrinsic reward which they could work for, they want to work for, and they have training effectiveness from the better managerial requirements, which would lead to employee motivation and employee performance. Now, not only this, but it would also have more job opportunities within the McDonald's organization. They would have homegrown employees that they want to work for McDonald's, and that the employees would want to work for McDonald's since they had been there for so long, and that is their career path. So yeah, basically, again, reiterating, don't want to get rid of the selling fast food products in general. The one that I suggest the most would be alternative one, the local community service. Now, again, like I said earlier, McDonald's are typically built in poorer communities, and so I feel like McDonald's would have a much more bigger impact and role in those communities. And there's a lot of communities like that. Sad to say, but there are a lot of communities like that. This would definitely uplift the brand name, and not saying that you're only donating just to uplift the brand name. It would also help the communities, and I think it would be really appreciated. And I'm sure the McDonald's Corporation also wouldn't mind being that helpful. So basically, in conclusion, McDonald's needs to uplift the brand name, get ahead of the competition, because there's companies like Chick-fil-A who have extremely good customer service, and they're considered, probably most of the time people consider them their favorite fast food restaurant. They have done a great job, and I feel like if McDonald's kind of somewhat models himself after Chick-fil-A, then it would definitely help them in the long run. And I also get that since McDonald's has been around since the 1940s, there are a lot of restaurants that are old, and that's not a good outlook, because if you're driving by a McDonald's that is like run down looking, that doesn't look good, let's be honest. So yeah, thank you for listening to my presentation. Bye.